Husband of 16 years has basically ghosted us for the last 3 days. Pretty lost with my current situation. Looking for any sort of insight. Husband, 39, male, and I, 40, female, have been married for 16 years. As mentioned, we have 3 daughters, 15, 13, 11. We're high school sweethearts, been together for about 22 years now. I have limited information, but here's what I know. 3 days ago, my husband, David, returned home from work. He had to work the following day. He seemed frantic and emotional, hastily packed an overnight bag, and left. I only became aware of this because our oldest daughter was at home and witnessed the situation. Despite attempting to talk to him, David was crying, distraught, and remained silent. He mentioned he was almost in a panic. Despite our attempts to reach out through texts and calls, he hasn't responded. I reached out to his parents, and they assured us that he's safe with them, asking for patience and understanding. Beyond that, I contacted his sister, his brother, and a close work friend. His brother claimed he had no information, and his work friend mentioned he was at work in the morning but gone by lunch 3 days ago. That's all she knew. That's it. 3 days now. No contact from my husband, not even with the kids. Nothing. No one is telling us anything, and here I am with my 3 girls trying to manage without him. Kids keep asking me what's going on, asking what happened with Dad, and all I can say is that he's at Grandma and Grandpa's, and we're supposed to be patient and understanding. I have an overwhelming urge to just pack up the kids quick and drive over there without warning. It's only 3 hours away, and sitting here in limbo is awful. The kids think we had a huge fight and are divorcing, but that's farthest from the truth. We never fight. The kids know this. I don't know what's going on, but can someone provide some clarity from a logical perspective? In my current emotional state, I find myself caught in a whirlwind of thoughts as I navigate everything without him. If someone passed away, wouldn't your spouse's family be the first people you'd inform? Perhaps some past trauma has resurfaced, yet if it were me, my husband would be the first person I'd turn to for support. At the moment, we are left with a void of information. Nothing makes sense. I don't know what to do, and I just sit here in limbo with the girls. We all know nothing, and no one is telling us anything. And it has me worried, scared, angry, etc. Just about any emotion one can feel in this situation. Can anyone come up with something reasonable? Why would you ghost your family like this? OP provided an update, confirming that everyone was correct about the affair. I'll share what I know and leave it at that. My father-in-law didn't call me last night, so eventually I contacted the police for a wellness check, as many of you suggested. This action led to a storm of issues that I won't delve into, but my husband has been having an affair for at least 2 years now, likely longer. Everyone was correct. The other woman, Emma, apparently had a heart attack on Tuesday and eventually passed away that night. For certain, my mother-in-law, and it sounds like probably my sister-in-law, have known about it and have been covering for him. Still no contact from David, not to me or the girls. I'm trying to keep this from them for now, honestly. No idea what to do from here. That's all I know, and that's enough to just about be the end of me. Thank you for all of the help, advice. Not sure how to move on from this news, but that's it. If you pray, please pray for me and us. Now to the second update. I've been recommended this by a few others, just joined, and have been reading through many posts when I have time. Mostly at night when the chaos of the day ends, and then of course the brain takes over, and I go through these fits of depression. Then I get hit with raging anger, then both at the same time. Sleeping is nearly impossible. I aimlessly navigate through the day in a zombie-like state, attempting to familiarize myself with various acronyms. I suppose my personal D-Day occurred on Friday, when I discovered that my husband, whom I initially believed to be involved in a 2-year affair, may have been engaged in infidelity for an even longer duration. The person he cheated with, referred to as the AP, was someone he had known for quite some time. The revelation came to light, tragically, when Emma passed away from a heart attack. I'm still digging for information with the help of my oldest daughter. Lots of things I'm not ready to post about. I really had no plans of continuing to make posts about my situation, but so many people have offered so much help, advice. It's almost become therapeutic. It hurts to know so many other people have or are suffering through this kind of pain. For that, I'm so sorry. I met with 2 different lawyers, both yesterday and today, to discuss options. Contacted several places regarding therapy too, but there are very long waits where I live. Trying to adhere to many suggestions others have made. Avoid alcohol, but I don't drink and never have. Self-care, workout, etc. I'd consider myself in very good shape for someone my age, but hard to find the energy to work out right now. I anticipate that some of you may inquire about the specifics, the whos, whats, whens, and whys. However, please bear with me, as I am not yet prepared to delve into those details. Each day feels like a new explosion, and at this point, I'm seeking advice on just one aspect so that I can perhaps find some solace and get a bit of sleep. The title of my post encapsulates my sentiments. My husband was everything to me, my best friend since high school, the father of my 3 beautiful daughters. I mean, we have inside jokes and secret handshakes. Man, it's all gone. Everything. It's just all gone. I think about all of our years together, every milestone, every laugh, and now I just get so very depressed. It's crippling. It's as though it all meant nothing to him, and now my future will be without him. And then, of course, the how could yous creep in, and I get overcome with this unquenchable, raging anger. I scream into my pillow and punch the mattress until my arms cramp. It's a horrible cycle. I only sleep out of pure exhaustion, then I'll wake up suddenly and the mind games begin anew. Any energy I do have, I dedicate to my girls, who've been trying to take care of me like they're the parents. It's unjust to put them through this. Could you share your experiences with sleep after discovering the affair? How did you cope with the deafening silence and the emptiness of the night, left alone with your thoughts? I've resolved to make my daughter's sleep needs my top priority throughout this ordeal, but I'm struggling. I'm hopeful that you can offer some guidance. Thank you, everyone. Third update. Apologies for still being relatively new to Reddit. Not sure how much of my situation I'm supposed to repeat or reiterate, but it's been just over a week since my D-Day. And since that day, I've learned my husband's affair was well over 4 years. Still no exact timeline. Very likely, it started emotional and then turned physical. I'm curious how the pandemic and lockdowns played into this. 2 questions I may or may not get the answers to. Anyway, yesterday my in-laws made an impromptu visit to see their grandkids. Wayward husband has been crashing at their house since this nightmare began, which is complete and total BS, of course, as they spent all of 15 minutes greeting the girls, David and I have 3 daughters, before asking to speak with me in private. It was a long conversation, as you might expect, one which I don't want to dialogue in its entirety on this post. But long story short, my husband wants to come home, but he fears the backlash of his actions and is afraid to face what he's done. His parents also dug very hard, trying to determine whether or not I planned on divorcing, and spent considerable time trying to sway me toward forgiving my husband and trying to rebuild the marriage. They appeared visibly ashamed and embarrassed, yet it was evident that they desired my husband to leave their home. The exchange was conducted in a civil and respectful manner. I must confess I misled them by stating uncertainty about my future plans, as my intention is to proceed with a divorce. However, I fear that revealing my decision might hinder my chances of extracting the truth from David. While I acknowledge I may never fully uncover the truth, I am determined to have him sit before me and provide an explanation, if possible. Over 17 years of being together and 16 years of marriage, 3 kids, countless memories, and all that we've shared, I want him to look me in the eyes and tell me everything. I also want my kids to know that I gave him a chance to explain himself, that I gave him the opportunity to apologize and handle things together as mature adults. I keep trying to choose the path that will set the best example for my kids. I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Legally, I cannot keep my husband out of our home. Lawyer made that very clear. So if David is going to come home, I can't stop him, though I absolutely do not want this right now. My girls and I have actually started to settle into a nice routine, so I made a demand that I felt would be unachievable for a while. I said my husband could come home if, when he sat down with me in person, looked me in the eyes, and revealed everything about his affair, start to finish, answering any and all of my questions without hesitation or further deceit, and then sat down with the girls and apologized in person and answered their questions too. Considering they are already aware, I believe it's only fair. Legally, he has the right to return home at any time and isn't obligated to comply with any demands. However, if he's hesitant to face us, perhaps I could leverage that to our advantage. I want to clarify that I'm not aiming to be devious or deceptive. I simply want to postpone cohabitation, if possible, as I'm not ready for it at this point. There is a mandatory 90-day waiting period in our state before divorce can happen anyway. His coming home is inevitable. We'll both have to go back to work eventually, and life will go on regardless of this mess. I'd just like to prolong it so I can plan and get into a better state of mental and emotional health. Fourth update. This will be rather anticlimactic, but apologies for the length, I just need to get this out. I had a terrible weekend. However, my husband returned home yesterday after a considerable buildup throughout the week. In the past, I would greet him with a hug and a kiss the moment he entered the doorway, but this time an incredibly uncomfortable awkwardness hung between us. Although he attempted to initiate a hug before saying anything, I turned away as if nothing had happened. The situation felt surreal. After he settled, I naturally asked him to tell me everything, and he again reiterated that he's not ready. We had spoken on the phone earlier in the week. Same result. I insisted that the only condition of his moving back home was that he loved me enough to explain why he's been absent for going on 3 weeks, but he just repeated that he just wasn't ready for that. It took a lot to not scream at him, but I took a couple of deep breaths and tried to compose myself. I failed, and after the first of many very long pauses, I just blurted out that he'd been having an affair for over 4 years with this coworker of his, planned on leaving me for this other woman, ghosted his whole family, and now walks through the door without fulfilling the one single condition that I had asked for, and that I wanted a divorce. I guess this is when things got weird. His body language and facial expression made it obvious he had no idea how much I knew about his affair. He glanced at me, wide-eyed, then just stood there in the kitchen staring at the floor. Said nothing. Just stoic. I was expecting anything, everything, but this. Maybe an emotional tirade, maybe a teary confession. I anticipated various reactions when my husband returned, perhaps screaming, yelling, or placing blame on me for the affair. I was ready for a serious tone, thinking we could sit down and talk things through. However, what unfolded was entirely different. We stood in the kitchen in absolute silence for what felt like 5 minutes. It was the strangest moment I've ever experienced. Neither of us knew what to say, and the awkwardness was palpable. I had read all of your comments, advice on my situation. I even took notes. I sat in front of a mirror and had prepared myself for all possible scenarios that this confrontation might present, except this one. So I eventually decided right then and there to map out everything I knew about his affair, maybe dumb of me. I proceeded to tell him everything that I knew, admittedly adding in my own assumptions about several things: how he met his affair partner, his sister's involvement, what went on during COVID, etc. He just stared at the floor the entire time. I got angrier as I went along because he said, "Did nothing, but I did everything I could not to raise my voice or get obscene." I finally composed myself. Then there was another lengthy, awkward silence. Then anger switched to sadness at the realization of everything. I then softly asked him what I did to push him away. Did he ever love me? And was his affair partner worth it? He said nothing, didn't budge, didn't move. Just nothing from him at all. No tears, no apology, no yelling, no explanation. He just stood there with his head down, offering nothing. The pain I felt at that moment was intense, maybe even worse than D-Day. I found myself staring at him, unsure if I could move. Unfortunately, the situation took a turn for the worse, as our daughters had been eavesdropping on the entire encounter. I felt an overwhelming sense of stupidity realizing that despite my efforts to prioritize our girls and their needs over the past couple of weeks, the unintended consequences had now unfolded. But I got emotional and didn't give a single thought to their whereabouts once I confronted my husband. So our oldest daughter stormed downstairs and lashed out, a lot of pent-up anger on her part. My husband quickly just ran upstairs and locked the bedroom door. That's where we're at now. I heard him crying most of the night last night until I fell asleep. Only our youngest has tried talking to him. The rest of us have avoided him. If I can get the courage up, I'm going to suggest he stay with his sister until we're able to finalize the divorce. But this is still his home too. It's just going to be miserable if we all have to cohabitate with him. I was wrong about my husband, and all of you were correct. I was wrong about all of our years together, wrong about all of the memories, the life-changing moments. I was convinced he'd drop to his knees and beg forgiveness. I was so convinced that he would repent of everything from the last 4 years and unload the truth to absolve his guilt. This man literally drove back to a farmer's market once when he realized he'd been given too much change, but we're not worth it to him. I feel like I'm not worth it to him. Perhaps I never was. Now what do I do? Today was incredibly uncomfortable at home. Despite our efforts to carry on as we had for the past 2 weeks, it's evident that maintaining the status quo is no longer possible. I just wish I could fast forward through all of this, bypass the divorce, the awkward conversations, the inevitable arguments and fights, and the drama. I'm particularly thinking about those who have had to cohabitate with their wayward spouse, and I'm eager to move past these challenging times. How did you manage that, especially with kids? I know this is just the beginning. I keep reading all of the posts that promise it gets better, but I'm so far away from that. There's not a single moment when I don't want to scream. So right now, trying very, very hard to maintain a stable mind for the girls, of course, but don't know if I can keep it up for 3 months. School will start well before all of this is over too. I guess this is my life now. Thank you all for taking such a vested interest in me. I don't know if the worst is ahead or behind us, but appreciate any and all you can offer to get me through the next phase. 5th update. I'm in a bad way and have been in a bad way since my wayward husband came home. Since I learned of his affair, I've been trying to fake it as best as possible for my daughters. I try to say the right things, think the right things, but tonight I have to admit the truth. As many of you post daily, it comes in waves, but I was hit with a big one tonight and lost my composure a bit. Divorce papers have been filed, but my wayward husband has not yet hired a lawyer. I've been trying to approach the situation with patience and delicacy, hoping for the possibility of an uncontested divorce that we can mainly handle ourselves. However, after tonight, I'm uncertain. Despite our cohabitation during the week, my wayward husband goes to his sister's on Friday nights and returns home on Sunday nights, since he works very close to our family home, but his sister is an hour away if there's no traffic. For the past couple of weeks, it's been this routine of mostly avoidance, as myself and the girls are trying to carry on normally, while wayward husband kind of just stays to himself. Though there are casual interactions every evening, except that my oldest daughter and my wayward husband aren't speaking after a couple of bad blow-ups. It's for the best right now. Lately, I've been heeding much of all of your advice along with things I've read. I work very hard on my self-discipline around my husband, and though it takes all my strength and willpower, I've been short and different toward him when we briefly talk, though always polite and respectful. Until tonight. Last couple of Fridays, he's come home from work, gotten a few things together, and taken off for his sister's for the weekend before I'm even home from work. But not tonight. He was waiting in the kitchen for me when I got home tonight. I tried to just walk past, but he lightly grabbed me by the hand and asked me if this is how I was going to treat him just because he's not ready to talk to me about his affair, which, by the way, is the very first time he's so much as mentioned a single word about his cheating since this exploded nearly a month ago. I made an effort. I genuinely tried to restrain myself and just walk away. However, our daughters weren't at home at that moment, and an overwhelming sense of rage built up within me. Eventually, I couldn't contain it any longer, and I unleashed every vice, pain, hurt, ache, rage, and misery I felt onto him. I honestly can't even quantify how long I went on for. Lost all concept of time. I did raise my voice at times, got a little animated and loud. I just broke down and told him how broken I am and the agony that I'm in every day, everything I've been holding back, everything that's been tormenting me. I mean, I could make this post 4,000 words long if I tried to recount everything I said. Once I started, I wasn't going to stop. Of course I cried, got emotional again. I was so freaking angry at myself afterward. I'd been doing so well. Damn it, he got to me. I let him get to me. I knew it would happen. I knew it. Oh, it's been building for a while, and there's only so much I can vent into the weight room. Well, also for the first time, wayward husband actually broke down and got emotional. Surprisingly started sobbing uncontrollably. Regrettably, This made me happy to see him hurting in the same way that I was. I wish that I didn't care, but there was some satisfaction in seeing him break down, finally, like there is actually someone in there with an ounce of compassion. Surprisingly, he mumbled apologies repeatedly throughout my emotional outburst. His tears were quite evident, and all he could manage to say was, "I'm so sorry." However, I left the kitchen before he could gather himself enough to articulate anything more. I asked him to please leave me alone. So that's how it unfolded. He lingered around the kitchen for a while before departing once again for his sister's house. Sixth update. I know many of you have reached out to me, and I do appreciate the concern. Many of you were right. Things aren't going well, and I haven't had the chance to be online at all. Initially, I thought of taking a break from the internet, but this week has thrown me off track terribly. It's been an awful experience. My husband hasn't really given me space all week. He's been excessively nice, constantly apologizing for his affair, sobbing, and at times overwhelming me with attempts at physical closeness. He's been knocking on my door at night, wanting to talk. I've ignored him some, but talked when I was in the mood. I finally snapped at him Wednesday night, telling him to leave me alone. Then last night it happened. Just over a month since my soon-to-be ex-husband came back home after his affair blew up, and now, as things have entered this uncomfortable cohabitating routine, he came into my room after the girls went to bed and asked to talk with me in private, differently than he'd been approaching me all week. I fought it at first, but eventually we actually went to the garage and sat in my car so as not to make the mistake of confrontation in front of the kids again. This is lengthy. Apologies. He told me everything. According to him, we were out there for almost 3 hours. I don't know how much to share. I was up all night listening to him, sobbing for several hours. Sleep eluded me, and I found myself in a cycle of tears and anger. At times, I struggled to resist the urge to go in and express my anger, only to be overwhelmed by tears again. The emotional turmoil continued in waves. Please forgive me if it takes a day or so to respond to anyone. I just need to get this off my chest and attempt to get some sleep. It hasn't helped having my wayward husband constantly apologizing and begging me for another chance. All evening tonight, too. I had to leave for a few hours just to get away from him. It is just so painful to be around him. Anyway, he was introduced to his affair partner, Emma, by his sister well before COVID, dating back about 5 years, apparently with zero romantic intentions, but Emma was a higher-up at a company he wanted to work for and currently does. He gave her an in, so his desire to change jobs was not based on his affair. But once he did change jobs, obviously he had extra incentive. Once he got the job, the affair partner began flirting with him. Started out as texting, then pictures, and more texting. Then it became physical just before COVID hit. He confessed to it his sister and wanted to come clean to me then, but decided to bury it and say nothing. Of course, he said he went no contact with his affair partner soon after, but as lockdowns and restrictions were lifted, she reached back out to him and he resumed talking to her until the physical side of the affair started up again once businesses resumed normal operations. He asserts that he ended the affair a couple of times out of guilt, but ultimately kept going back to her. In essence, the affair never truly ended. He provided a substantial amount of detail, presenting a 5-page packet of handwritten notes outlining the timeline of his affair. He read through the entire account, addressing questions along the way. It was revealed that he had lied about weekend trips with the girls, lied about traveling for work, lied about traffic jams, about issues with his parents, about shopping trips, etc., just as I suspected, and the list was extensive. So many lies that I just trusted his every word, never questioned anything. But they were just a front to be with her. Hearing it all just made me feel worse. Everyone was correct about that. But his affection never really dipped while all of this was going on. He never got distant like I read so often. Intimacy did change, but not enough to where I'd see red flags. Anyway, he admits falling in love with his affair partner and wanting a life with her. She was older, divorced, and single, and promised him expensive things, vacations, and all the things he thought he could have with her. He began fantasizing about escaping his family responsibilities, describing the thrill of being with her as too enticing to resist. He openly discussed how he grew bored with the daily routines of family life. His account was remarkably candid, emotional, and appeared to be honest. Midway through, I lost my composure and started crying. Hearing it all was painful, as one would expect. Of course, once he was finished with his confession, he told me how much he loved me and always has, and that he's willing to do everything to try and save the marriage. A lot of you predicted this would happen, but it all just seems so disingenuous to me, like it was rehearsed. I've been with this man for well over half my life, and I can just tell when he's full of crap. Maybe I'm wrong, guess it doesn't matter, but I composed myself better than last week. Still got angry and said a few not-so-nice things, including getting a jab in about how his affair partner was seeing multiple men and he was just one of many that she was willing to toss aside. That seemed to really upset him. A million things have gone through my brain when thinking about this moment, when he'd finally confessed all, the one-liners I might throw at him or things I could say to hurt him back. Hundreds of responses that I couldn't think of in the emotional moment the other night. But one thing I knew I would ask, and that was if his affair partner was still alive and he had to choose between her and me. Who would he choose? He hesitated and then mumbled, "That's not fair." Pressing the issue, he eventually said he would of course pick me. In response, I pointed out that his hesitation was the very reason for the divorce, as it suggested he was still lying. This made him break into tears, and he remained silent as we sat in the car with him sobbing continuously. I was tired and told him that we're divorcing. I emphasized our responsibility to the girls, urging us to get along in a civil way, to be great parents, and remain present in their lives. I also added that after all the pain he'd put me through, I hoped he was a good enough person to divorce fairly and amicably. That would prove he actually loved me. The last thing I said to him I stole from somewhere else online. Please understand that I'm not a petty person, and I did not purposely want to cause him pain. It just seemed a fitting end to it all. But I did 100% mean what I said and did. I leaned over and kissed him on the forehead and told him that I would have loved him forever. Then got out of the car and went to bed. That was it. Of course, I didn't sleep last night, and here I am unable to sleep once again tonight. Don't know what happens now. His opportunity to contest the divorce has come and gone, so I guess that's one good thing, but I haven't talked to my lawyer yet. I find myself crying again and sinking back into those depression/anger phases. It was very hard hearing everything last night, and in reality, I could have done without it all. Having discovered the truth, I recognize the possibility that he could have fabricated it all for some unknown reason. However, it aligns seamlessly with everything I've pieced together over the past month, so for now, this saga continues. I experience a few good days, regain a sense of strength, and then another twist unfolds. It feels like both months and mere days have passed simultaneously. But I'm going to try and sleep. Imagine the love of your life, the only man you've ever loved, ever kissed, tells you he cheated on you for over 4 years because he was bored. Didn't fall out of love, didn't grow apart, didn't have any relationship issues or dead bedroom. Nothing like that, just because he was bored. Don't know if that makes it worse or better. Thanks for reading and helping along the way. Bad couple of nights. Very bad. I promise to make an effort to respond tomorrow after I get a chance to sleep. OP mentioned in the comments that her husband passed away a month after the 6th update. OP provides us with an update after her husband's passing. So many of you have reached out to me in the past weeks. So much support from strangers to a stranger like me. I do appreciate it all and apologize for not responding. I'd been trying to stay off social media. There's just been this bombardment of well wishes on one side, regrets, sadness, and even some hate from a select few. But suddenly, now it's just silence. The house is so silent. The reality of the last few months of my life has set in. I resonate with Andy Dufresne from The Shawshank Redemption. It's like standing in the path of a tornado, yearning for the storm to finally subside. I recognize it's a fictional portrayal, but it reflects the current reality of my life. There's a profound absence of joy and hope, leaving behind a massive crater where my soul once thrived. Despite the immense struggle, I've been making a concerted effort to maintain a strong facade for my girls ever since discovering my husband's affair. Then the tormenting weeks to follow, the cohabitating, then the eventual heart-to-heart talks, and now, just like that, he's gone. And I find that I can't put on the strong face anymore. I can hardly get out of bed in the morning. But I know that I have to press on for my daughter's sakes, so I do. I replay our last conversation like a horror film in my head, regretting every word, wishing I could go back and say something else. Anything else. The last thing I said to him was that I loved him and that I always would, but that I wished I never had to see him again. I was hurting and vulnerable, just trying to be honest. I was tired of the conversations about the same things, tired of his desperation and apologies. I was just tired. And now, life, seemingly like part of some terrible joke, has granted my wish. Considering they'll be without their father for the remainder of their days, my daughters are doing okay, I suppose. My oldest continues to take care of me, forces me to eat, and will sit and watch movies with me on weekends. I'm very thankful for her. The other two girls have kind of resumed life as normal lately, with school and sports and such, which I'm very glad for. I find immense support from my mom and brother, yet each day remains an overwhelming struggle. Therapy has become a routine for everyone, and while the girls seem to benefit from it, I find it challenging to fully embrace it. There's a weight of guilt and sadness that I can't shake off. I attend sessions primarily because my oldest insists. As a Christian, I turn to the book of Job, attempting to stay strong and maintain faith despite the profound challenges and tribulations, but I'll admit, failing at this. I just want to scream, "It's not fair," 1,000 times at the top of my lungs. I thought I was a good wife and mother. I thought I'd done right by people. I thought I was a moral woman. But I've been dealt this horrible hand suddenly, and I can't climb out of my pit of despair. I feel weak, pathetic, sorry for myself, and horribly empty inside. Life isn't fair. Life is hard. I get it. I'm just not sure I have the fight to weather this storm. What do all of you do when you're at your very lowest point? We will take a look at the top comments before wrapping this up. You are this woman, OP, and more. Your ex is the one who caused this upheaval. Focus on being the best mother possible. Your kids recognize you as the stable parent, and they are there for you. It's crucial for you to be there for them. Consider getting involved in social groups, perhaps volunteering at a local food bank or homeless shelter. Your efforts can make a meaningful impact on those who have less. Additionally, volunteering at your kid's school, zoo, or any place in need of assistance can be a positive and fulfilling way to channel your energy. You can't go back and change what has happened, and you can't unsay or unhear words that were spoken. Look forward, OP. It will get better for you. You take care of you, the kids. OP replied, "This is good advice. Helping someone in need is the right thing to do. Maybe lifting someone else up will help to lift me up. Thank you." Another comment. Sister, I'm so sorry for your loss. I followed your story and I'm deeply saddened. I want you to know just how much of a great wife and mother you have been. You have been so faithful and good to them all. You did not deserve what he did to you. You navigated the aftermath of his disappearance and the days that followed with grace. You did what you could, but his betrayal and affair was too much to forgive. No one in their right mind would blame you for the divorce or how you treated him. You and your children are the wounded, betrayed victims here. Your late husband suffered the loss of his AP, your love, his children's love, and his reputation. This was too much for him. He made the choice to end his life instead of putting in the effort to mend the broken relationships he had destroyed through his long-term infidelity. That decision was his, not yours. It's important not to place blame on yourself for his death. You are not responsible for this outcome. OP replied, acknowledging the truth. Deep down, I know you are right. I'm just in the thick of it all right now. Admittedly, I'm haunted by all the what-ifs, and these past few weeks have been very dark with little progress for me. However, you've pointed out something that perhaps I should be working on, forgiving him. That will be quite the undertaking, I'm afraid, but maybe one day. Another comment. OP, I am truly sorry for what you've been through. You were a fantastic wife and are an outstanding mother. You did nothing wrong. You were betrayed, and you handled it with grace. Stay strong for your daughters. I wish you good luck. Hey viewers, drop your thoughts and words of encouragement for OP down in the comments.